Hare Krishna, good morning from Sridham. Mayapur, we're starting just a little again. So, this is our 33rd session in a series of talks we're calling Meeting in Kuruksetra. And today we're going to speak something, a very wonderful topic about Krishna's love for the Braj gopis. Gaura-līlā gana gotra goloruharam Gauranga Guratama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46, Text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of all literatures. This is Canto 10, Chapter 46, Text 3. This is Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Gachotava brajam somya pitro no pritim avaha gopinam madvino viyogadhim madsandeshaya vimochaya. So we spoke a little bit about this verse in our last session and the importance of the word somya. Remember the word somya? Anapayani, do you remember the word somya? What is somya? You don't remember somya. Oh, you're fired. Okay. Somya means someone who's very gentle. And this was Uddhava's qualification, one of his qualifications, of being Krishna's representative. If you're a very harsh person, you can't be Krishna's representative as a husband, as a wife, as a teacher, as a parent, as a manager, as a preacher. Because Krishna by nature, he's a very, very gentle person. So here Krishna's telling Uddhava, because you're Somya, I want you to go to Braj. Gachotava Brajam. You go to Braj. And then he says, Somya, because you're gentle, or Somya, I want you to go to Braj and be gentle. Pitra no pritamavaha, you speak to my parents, gopinam viyogadim, and you speak to the Braj gopis of Vrindavan. Matsandeshaya vimochaya, and you give them the sandesh, this message of love from me. My Guru Maharaj gave a series of lectures in 1994, primarily 94, which we compiled into a book called Mathura Meets Vrindavan. And a big part of that book is Krishna's message to the gopis, which he gave through Uddhava. And I'd like to read you a little something from there. He says, this is a matter of love. Krishna is saying, oh Uddhava, please go to Braj Bhumi. Pitra no, he's commenting on the same verse. My dear father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata, are very much distressed, feeling pangs of separation from me. Please give them some pleasure. Then he spoke about the gopis. Gopinam madvino yagam mad sandaishaya vimochaya. Please go to the gopis, the damsels of Braj Bhumi. They're getting so much pain. Mad viyogadim, feeling the very acute pangs of separation from me. Please take this message of love and deliver it to them and give them some solace. Mad sandaishaya, this is my message of love. And then in the next verse, in the Bhagavatam, Krishna tells Uddhava, Ta man manaska mat prana mat arte chapta daihikaha mameva daitam preshtam atmanam manasa vitaha ye chapta loka dharmascha mad arte tan vibhartyaham. This is our main verse that we want to speak something about today. He says, the minds of those gopis are always absorbed in me, and their very lives are ever devoted to me. For my sake, they've abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing ordinary happiness in this life, as well as religious duties necessary for such happiness in the next life. I alone am their dear most beloved, and indeed their very self. I personally sustain such devotees who for my sake give up all worldly duties. So this verse, my Guru Maharaj would comment on this verse is practical. And he would say that Krishna is a theoretical speaker. Krishna is speaking, but there's no practical example. Without a practical example, what is the value of your teaching? As we were quoting the other day, St. Francis of Assisi, one of Prabhupada's appreciated persons, probably said some nice things about him. St. Francis once instructed his followers that you go and preach. And then he said, and if necessary, say something. In other words, preaching is not something which is done from the lips, but preaching is something which is done with our whole life. So Krishna is a theoretical speaker. And Krishna said, sarva-dharmān-partiyajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva-papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. He said, you give up all... Difficult day today. The connection's been going back and forth. It's still there. He didn't say, give up all types of pop. He said, give up all types of religion. And he said, aham tvam sarva-papebhyo. He sarva-dharmān-partiyajya sharanam vraja. He said that this braja, you give up everything. And my Guru Maharaj commented that when he said this word braja, that's the end of the Bhagavad-gītā. There's a text 66, there's a few more verses, but that's it for the Gita, because then Krishna started remembering Vrindavan. This topic in front of us, why is it so important that Rupa Goswami has written 2 books about this topic? Uddhava Sandesh and Hansadutta. Why is it that in books like Vrindavan Lilamrita by Nandakishore Goswami, is in the line of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, famous Bengali book, which we may get to a few verses from today. Why has he written 2 chapters about this? Why is it the Bhagavatam gives 2 chapters about this? Why is it that Rupa Goswami speaks about this topic in Lalita Madhav also? And Sanatana Goswami speaks about it in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Why is it such an important topic? Because this topic is gaura-līlā. Because Krishna spoke in a theoretical way. He said, sarva-dharmān-partiyajya mamekam sharanam vraja. You should give up everything and just surrender to me. But there's no example of it. So Krishna tells Uddhava, Tama manaska mat prana mararti chakta daihika. This is the example. This verse is like a mirror of a sarva-dharmān-partiyajya verse. That Krishna says in the Gita, Amamana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namasku. You dedicate your mind to me. But what's the example? But here Krishna says, ta mat manaska mat prana. That the gopis, they're the example. They're completely fixing their minds on me. And ye chakta loka dharmascha. They're sarva-dharmān-partiyajya. They've given up all types of dharma and everything else for me. Mat artitam bibamyaham. He says that I personally sustain them. I personally take care of them. This is a further purport of aham tvam sarva-papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. You do this thing and don't worry about any sin. Krishna says, I'll personally protect you. Here he's speaking about the gopis. I'll personally take care of them. And the gopis, they're giving their very own self. In his Laghu Vaishnava Toshini, Srila Jiva Goswami comments on this verse. He says that Krishna now, he's beginning to give his message to the gopis. And the first thing that he's doing, he's speaking about the general condition of the gopis. He's speaking about the cause of their devotion to him. He's speaking about their particular condition in 2 verses. And he's saying it to Uddhava that they're sarva-dharmān-partiyajya. They're completely indifferent to dharma. They don't care about all of that. They're completely indifferent to their bodies. They're completely indifferent to everybody else. They're indifferent to their husbands, to their children. They're indifferent to eating and drinking. He says they've dedicated their lives completely to me. They have no interest in external sense enjoyment. And they take me as their very life. This is the example. This is gaura-līlā. Krishna had to come as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He says, my brain's a little dull today. He says that I have to repay my debt. I have to repay my debt to the gopis. How can I do that? Na pariham nirvadya samyujam swasadu krityam vibudaya sampiva. How can I do that? That's Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And it's so important, this Uddhava Sandesh. What we're supposed to preach. What do we preach? We preach Uddhava Sandesh. Our preaching means either anvaya or bhaktirekabhyam, either directly or indirectly, we're glorifying the gopis of Vrindavan. That's the preaching of this movement. And this is how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is repaying his debt to the gopis. He says in the Napareham verse, he finishes that verse, Krishna says, Yapratiyatu saduna. Let your own behavior be your glory. What does it mean? It means Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Because he comes, because when you have a debt, if I borrow $1,000 US from Urugai Prabhu, and he's getting a little disturbed because I haven't paid him back, it's been 3 months now, and then I go to him one day and I say, anyway, Urugai Prabhu, no problem, here's 1,000 rupees, and now we're square, right? He's a very gentle person. You mean, but Lalita Kunmataji is going to beat you on the head. You can't do that. If you're going to, when you have a debt to someone, you have to repay the debt in like currency, in the same currency. You can't just pay back US dollars with Indian rupees. So Krishna can't repay his debt to the gopis by being very dharmic. Krishna has to experience what the gopis are experiencing, because this is a debt of love. And he has to repay the debt in the same currency. And just as the gopis, Krishna says here to Uddhava, ye chapta loka dharmas cha. They gave up all types of dharma. It was shocking. We can't understand, because most of us are from the West, and we have no conception about dharma. We have no conception about chastity of ladies. But for a woman to leave her husband in the middle of the night and go running to see another man in the forest, it's inconceivable. And these are the examples of the topmost spiritualists in the universe. It's a very difficult thing to understand. So Krishna says that the gopis, mad arte, for me, this word mad arte indicates that because all material enjoyment is ultimately caused by the Atma, they become indifferent to the Atma. They don't care about their Atma, themselves. Mad arte, they're just thinking about Krishna. And then Jiva Goswami says that the cause of their sacrifices is stated because they take me as the most beloved of their minds. This is the object, this is the goal of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. To understand something about the mood of the gopis. And we do that through our sadhana. We practice that. Srila Prabhupada's given us our Tulsi prayers. He's given us Radha Madhav. We practice that from the very beginning. Not in the same way in our line that some Vaishnavas do, by practicing some Astakaliya Smarana or Ekadas Bhav, by meditating on 11 different forms that they have. But we do this through our practice. We were speaking this morning. This is our whole life, our everything. We hear Krishna Katha. And what should we hear? We should hear Krishna book. Krishna book is legal. including the 5 chapters called Rasa-panchadhyaya. The 5 chapters dealing with the Ras-līlā. It's legal. Not only is it legal, but Srila Prabhupada wanted all the devotees to read it. And not just the devotees, he wanted all the non-devotees to read it. And he also wanted the devotees to read the sections about Uddhava Sandesh. And what is the significance? This is a real Sandesh. Uddhava, as we mentioned a few days ago, according to Jiva Goswami, according to Sanskrit dictionary, Uddhava also means a festival. Uddhava also means joy. So Uddhava Sandesh has 2 meanings. Uddhava Sandesh means the message given through Uddhava. But Uddhava Sandesh also means the message of joy. That message which is a great festival of joy. And that's our disciplic succession. It's the message of joy which we're going to share with everyone. This is our line. And this is the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jiva Goswami says that they don't take internal objects such as their own prana, their life as dearest, since in my absence, he's telling Uddhava, they don't even value their own life. They take me alone and not their atmas as a pleasure within their atmas. Their pleasure is my pleasure. And this is relevant for us. It's not just some theoretical thing that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go to that class again. That's not bona fide. I remember some years ago we printed something my grandmother spoke about, how Krishna took sannyas to pacify the sulkiness of Srimati Radharani. And we sent that out in our Krishna Katamrita Bindu magazine. And one devotee wrote to me, he was very disturbed. He said, this is too high for me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to unsubscribe. I can't read these kind of things. This is too much. Okay, that's fine. You can hear about other things, how you should be religious, how you should get up early in the morning and take a cold bath, and you should be vegetarian. And it's important to be vegetarian. You're a vegetarian, Prabhuji? No eggs or fish? Oh, okay, that's important. But probably that's not what we generally speak to devotees about. And it's not something I don't know if Prabhupada speaks about vegetarianism anywhere in Krishna book. Perhaps he does. But it's certainly not the main subject in Krishna book. And it's not the main subject for our Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Our main topic is to understand the mood of the gopis. And that's the message of joy, the festival message of Uddhava Sandesh, which is so important for our disciplic succession. If you don't understand this message, you can't be how can you be a member of this movement? Much less, how can you be a preacher in this movement? This is Krishna Kun's mood. She's giving me medicine. Hare Krishna. Krishna Satan. So, our movement is really a movement following Srimati Radharani. Our movement, Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, which is Stapitam Yena Bhutale, established by Rupa Goswami, means the movement of Rupa Manjari, means the movement of Rupa Goswami. I know, okay, it's a very high thing and you're starting to get a stomach ache from that. Calm down. Think about it in a deep way. It's a very, very important thing. Krishna says of the gopis, Mamanaska, he says, those who are in my mind at all times. One meaning is that they're always thinking of me, but another meaning he's telling Uddhava is that I can't stop thinking about them. Because Krishna says in the Gita that Yegatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyam. As someone approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. The gopis are always thinking of me, then I'm always thinking of them. In the Adi Purana, there's a nice verse where Krishna says that someone who's always chanting my name, I'm always chanting their name. I'm always thinking of that person. This is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It's not just meant to be dharmic. It's not just meant to have Vanashram Dharma and be married in a nice way. But our purpose is to try to understand what is the desire of Krishna? What is the desire? And Krishna's trying to understand what is the desire of the gopis. And what is the desire of the gopis? They don't want anything except for Krishna's pleasure. So the gopis, therefore, are described in the Chaitanya Mata Manjusa by Srinath Chakravarti, the very first verse in his commentary on the Bhagavatam. He says, Rajo Bhagavan Brajesa Tanayas Tadama Vrindavanam. He gives us everything Mahaprabhu's teachings in a nutshell. The first thing is Rajo Bhagavan. The most worshipful person, who's Bhagavan, is Brajesa Tanaya, the son of the king of Braj, Krishna. And Ramya Upasana, the best worship. Ramya Upasana means to worship. And Ramya means the most pleasing. Ramya Upasana Brajabadu Vardina Bakopita. The Brajabadus, the gopis of Vrindavan. As Srila Prabhupada told the editors for Back to Godhead magazine one time, they asked him a question. They were speaking about standards, and they said, Srila Prabhupada, should we talk about Radharani and Krishna in Back to Godhead magazine? And Prabhupada said, better you don't. And then Prabhupada paused for a moment. And then Prabhupada told them, and this is in the BTG Standards book, Prabhupada told them, don't boycott the gopis. That's exactly what he said. But don't boycott the gopis. We're followers of the gopis. The gopis are our everything. If we boycott the gopis, we're no longer Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We have to understand them. That kirtan of the gopis, we'll hear later on. Uddhava offers prayers to the gopis. And he says, very famous verse, Vande nanda braja strinam pada venam abhikshanasa yasam harikatod gitam punati bhuvanatrayam. That I offer my respects again and again to the dust coming from the feet of the gopis of Vrindavan. These gopis, they're loudly chanting the glories of Krishna, and that vibration, punati bhuvana trayam, it purifies. Punati means to purify. Punati bhuvana, bhuvana means the universe, trayam, the three worlds. This kirtan of the gopis purifies the whole universe. This kirtan of the gopis is the kirtan of our sampradāya. The kirtan of our sampradāya takes place in the Gambhira, in Jagannath Puri, in a closed room. And it takes place with primarily two people, Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who are Lalita and Vishaka. And what is their kirtan doing? Their kirtan is to help Krishna understand the mood of Srimati Radharani. And therefore they're singing the songs of Chandidas and Vidyapati and Bilva Thakur, songs which speak about the mood of Radharani. Because to repay his debt, he has to understand their mood. This is why in loving dealings, sometimes the wife, she complains to the husband, you don't understand me. Why is it such a common thing? The lady tells the boyfriend or the husband, you don't understand me. Because this is the nature of love. Love means you understand the other person. And if you feel like the person doesn't understand you, in one sense you're saying you don't really love me. Because if you love me, you understand me. And this is how Krishna has to repay his debt. It's a debt of love, because love means understanding. It means to empathize. It means to realize, not just in a theoretical way, like Krishna's saying in the Gita, sarva-dharmān-partiyajya, but he has to come as Gauranga Mahaprabhu and set the example. And this Uddhava Sandesh, this festival of instructions, is so important for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that we understand the mood of the gopis. Because this, directly or indirectly, is what we're preaching to people. We're not just going and telling people to be vegetarian and, there's such a thing as reincarnation. That's upadharma. That's something which will bring people to a little closer place. And we do sometimes speak those things. Prabhupada very often spoke those things to Christians. But Prabhupada didn't speak those things to devotees. He wasn't telling initiated devotees that you should be vegetarian. There's another topic we should go to. what Prabhupada in London, when they approached him once and they said, Prabhupada, the London Vegetarian Society wants you to come and give a lecture. And Prabhupada said, what do they want to hear about? Do they want to hear about Krishna? Or do they want to hear about vegetarianism? And the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, I think they want to hear about vegetarianism. And Prabhupada said, we won't go. We're not interested in speaking about vegetarianism. He said, the rabbits are also vegetarian. The monkeys are vegetarian. Who cares about vegetarianism? That's not the purpose of this movement. So I see a lot of devotees are making comments online. We'll come to those in a little bit. So Guru Maharaj in Mathura Meets Vrindavan, he goes on to speak, explaining Krishna's words to Uddhava. On the battlefield of Kuruksetra, Krishna gave this most confidential instruction to Arjuna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. Keep me in your mind. Give your mind to me. Always think of me. This is manmana. But he says, you cannot find such an example in Bhagavad-gītā. Krishna only spoke theoretically there. This example is found in the 10th canto, in this verse we're speaking on today. Ta manmanaska mat prana mararte chaktadayika. That the gopis are the example. Because every moment, he says, they're thinking of Krishna. This is pure love. They're not forgetting Krishna, even for a moment. Sudurlabha bhagavatahi loke. It's very, very rare to find such a devotee who's developed such love for Krishna, who thinks of Krishna every moment. That Sudurlabha Bhagavatahi Loke is a verse he's quoting from Hari Bhakti Surudoya. And he says that we should understand this point. Without love, no one can think of Krishna. In a religion, you try to do something mechanical. And we were speaking the other day from a statement Srila Prabhupada made in Mauritius. The basis of Vedic civilization, Vedic culture, is love, not law. And if there's love first, then the law will follow that. So Krishna in the Gita, he's given law. But now he's realizing, what's the point of giving law? It's not going to change anyone's heart. I have to come and give love. And to give love, they have to see an example. Everybody loves to watch romance movies, isn't it? About the boy and the girl and love story and the songs and the books, and so many things are there. We get some inspiration from an example like that. And this is the nature of the soul. We're hankering to find a real example of love. But the problem, as we were speaking at the Sunday program the other day, is that this love that we're finding here has two bad qualities. It's hoitaki, it has some motivation. Hey baby, I love you, honey, if you give me this and that. It's hoitaki and it's pratiyata. It has an ending. But the Bhagavad teaches us that real love is ahoitaki, apratiyata, and therefore it's yayatma supasidati. It satisfies the self. But because we're not satisfied, we're by nature always looking for that love, but we're looking for it in inanimate objects. I'm sorry, Krishna. As Sridananda Maharaj once said, just a little bit. You ask the boy, what is it that he loves about the girl? And he says, it's the way the sun shines through her beautiful hair. I love that about her. So no problem. You can save yourself a lot of money on movies and chocolates. Just cut off part of her hair or buy a wig. And then you can hang it up in the window, and your sweetheart's with you always. Does that sound romantic? No. It's the touch of her skin. It's so silky smooth and so nice. Okay, fine. Take her to the beach on a nice sunny day. Make sure she gets a good sunburn. And then when the skin starts peeling, you collect all the skin, put it in a plastic bag, and then you can rub it sometimes, right? And you're experiencing it. No, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. That's not the object of love. Only the soul is the object of love. But here in this verse, Krishna is telling Uddhava that even the gopis, even their own soul, even their own atma, they're not interested in. But ye arte, all they care about is me. And therefore Krishna is the soul of all souls. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming to teach us. To teach us the nature of the love of the gopis. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us, he's showing us the purport of sarva-dharmān-partiyajya. He's the purport of this verse of the Bhagavatam, tan manamaska mat prana. The gopis are the example of this sarva-dharmān-partiyajya. My Guru Maharaj said that when Radharani would go to the Jamuna, the saying is there, Kovana yati Jamuna pulinavani radhaname kulapavada. Who's not going to the bank of the Jamuna to fetch water? But if Radharani goes there, then she's condemned. And everybody says she's become a kulata. She's become a prostitute. But Radharani, she doesn't protest that. If a lady, if some man comes and calls you a prostitute, you slap him in the face, right? You become very angry, tell your husband, beat him up. It's a very big offense. But Srimati Radharani, she accepts that. And she accepts it as like an ornament on her head. This is what I get for loving Krishna. Everybody comes and criticizes me. For those persons who are looking for comfort, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother, once said that if you want a life of peace and tranquility, then you'll have to fall down to Vaikuntha. Because in Vrindavan, there's so much anxiety. But the devotees, they accept that anxiety as a service for Krishna. And that's their ornament. Yes, Krishna, you're making me suffer. I don't mind. He's such a debauchee. May he come before me or not become before me. But whatever he did, prananatastu eva napra. Radharani says, he's the Lord of my life and no one else. And I'll wear the suffering for his pleasure. And Krishna told all these things to Uddhava. And then Krishna, he told Uddhava, how are the gopis even staying alive? And he compared them in a very beautiful way. We have a wonderful painting we commissioned for this of Mathura meets Vrindavan. He said, they're like the turtles. And how does a turtle stay alive during the hot season, the summer? When there's no rain and everything dries up. Those turtles, at that time, they go to the reservoirs of water which are drying up and they dig into the mud. And they dig very deep into the mud to keep themselves alive. And Krishna tells Uddhava, similarly, when I left Vrindavan, the gopis, they felt the separation from me. This is called Vipralamba Agni, or the fire of separation. And they were burning and burning in that separation. That heat of separation, he said, Virahatapa. It's very acute. But their heart is like a pond, sarasi. The water is completely dried up. And their life is like the turtles, pranakurma. So when all the water dries up, the turtles bury themselves in the mud. And similarly, the gopis stay alive by Krishna's words. Where he said, Ayasya, Ayasya, I'm going to return. They dig very deep into the mud of those words. And that's how they keep themselves alive. Krishna Guru Maharaj here is paraphrasing Rupa Goswami's Uddhava Sandesh. So he says that he chose Uddhava to carry this message because Uddhava is such a dear devotee. Who else can carry this message? So Uddhava went to Braj Bhumi. Uddhava is a devotee, but his devotion is not as pure as the gopis. Uddhava is a jnana mishra bhakta. His devotion is mixed with knowledge. So Krishna also had another intention in sending Uddhava to Vrindavan. He wanted Uddhava to come to the platform of pure love. And therefore this Uddhava Sandesh is there. Krishna wanted to give this message of joy, and Krishna wanted to give this message so that Uddhava would get joy. He would actually become Uddhava. And this Uddhava Sandesh is so important for us because this is our message of joy. And just as Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Vrindavan for two reasons, one to give a message, and the second to purify Uddhava, our preaching in our line also has two purposes. One is to give the message, sarva-dharmān-partiyajya, dear sir, please take this book, please read this, please make your life wonderful. And by doing that, we're serving Srila Prabhupada, we're serving our disciplic succession, we're serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there's another purpose going on at the same time. Don't think we're qualified preachers. Uddhava is not a qualified preacher. He's a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. He's almost a qualified preacher, where he's millions and millions of times greater preacher than any of us. Huh? But still, there was some purpose Krishna had to purify Uddhava. And in the same way, this Uddhava Sandesh is there for us. We're giving this message of joy and happiness to everybody in this world, but it's also a message for us. And by being the instrument for Krishna, and by trying to give up our selfishness, by speaking about the mood of the gopis directly or indirectly, and how the gopis, they have no selfishness. They're the embodiment of sarva-dharmān-partiyajya. That message, sarva-dharmān-partiyajya, this is the message of our sampradāya, but it's being given through the gopis. It's being given through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This example must be given as so very, very important. And therefore, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Sabe eke sakhi gane ihanadi kara shaki hoite hoya e lilara bishtara. Only the gopis can appreciate the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Only the gopis can read Krishna book. Only the gopis can understand Krishna book. And from those gopis, Saki hoiti hoi a lila bishtar, only those pastimes can be expanded. So the gopis are real preachers. And those persons who are following in the line of the gopis, they're real preachers. They're doing Uddhava Sandesh. Saki bina e lila, pushta nahi hoya, Saki lila, Bishtariya, Saki Ashwadaya. Saki Bina, without the gopis, a lila pushta nahi hoy. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna can't be nourished. What does that mean? That means gaura-līlā. Because the gopis, they've come as the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Rupa Goswami understands their mood. And therefore we're Rupa-nugas. Because Rupa Goswami knows Chaitanya Manobhishtam. He understands the inner mind of Mahaprabhu. And Stapitam Yena Bhutale. He can establish it because he's Rupa Manjari. Because he's the intimate associate of Srimati Radharani. And Sarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, they're doing this kirtan for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because without the mood of those gopis, the pastimes of Radha Krishna can't continue. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna continue in Kali Yuga in the form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. They're not finished. My Guru Maharaj said that they're like a green mango, which is not completely ripe. But only in gaura-līlā is Radha Krishna Lila become completely ripened. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Saki Lila Bishtariya Saki Ashwadoy. By the cooperation of the gopis, these pastimes are broadcast. Saki Ashwadoy. It's their business to taste the mellows. It's our business to taste this. Srila Prabhupada said in one lecture in 1972, I'm fond of quoting, Nectar Devotion in Vrindavan. He said that in the beginning you have some faith, but that's not enough. You have to go beyond that and come to the point of ruchi, Vasudev Kata ruchi. Without that ruchi, you can't be a real preacher. If you don't have that ruchi, then either subtly or grossly, you're going to be out there for your own purpose. as we sometimes comment. I've seen so many book distributors, I've trained book distributors, and I've watched them, young men going out, and I'm saying, Prabhuji, why is it you're only talking to young girls? And he said, well, they're easier to give books to. Prabhuji, sadhu sabadam, you be careful. Our mission, we should be like the rain which falls on the desert, which falls on the ocean, which falls everywhere where it's needed or not needed. We give mercy freely to everyone. And if you start focusing and seeing different bodies, there's going to be some problem there. And then you won't be able to taste. You're going to be going out there for your own personal desire, because subtly, why are you going out there? You're looking to find a husband. You're looking to find a wife, because the soul is hankering for something. And we're going out. Where can I find that guy, that hunk, who's going to solve all my problems and do this and that? Where can I find that girl? And that's why such persons want to approach members of the opposite sex, isn't it? Because subtly or grossly, we're looking for that thing. And that's a result because we're not relishing. My Guru Maharaj said in one lecture that if you simply become absorbed in nam-bhajan, then you'll be peaceful. And you won't mind. Some people will come, they'll criticize you, they may spit on you, they may call you a prostitute. But because Srimati Radharani is so absorbed in thinking of Krishna's pleasure, it doesn't touch her. If we become completely absorbed in doing our nam-bhajan for the pleasure of Gurudev, thinking this bhajan pleases Gurudev, this bhajan pleases Srila Prabhupada, my chanting japa pleases Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is my offering to them. If we're meditating like that, and we're chanting, then no one can bother you. You won't be disturbed because there's a great pandemic. You won't become disturbed because there's a great conspiracy going on, and this one or that one won the election or lost the election. You won't give a damn. You won't even notice it. This is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So I want to stop there. And a lot of devotees online have written a number of comments today. I'd like to read over those and see if we can. Oh, there's a lot of comments today. Ujjwala Rasiga Mataji, thank you. Lisa, Binda Sundari, Denver, Colorado, offers obeisances. Natalia in Estonia, Hare Krishna. Naveen Prabhu, pranams, Hare Krishna. Brajavani to Israel, nice to see you. Zoltan, nice to see you. Okay, Ujjwala Rasiga Mataji's commented, Somya is my take-home thing. Also, you said it so wonderfully. The katha for this morning, I'll read, she pasted in what I wrote for the katha this morning. The glorification of the gopis is the essence of our sampradāya and the foundation of Krishna's confidential pastimes known as gaura-līlā. The Bhagavad-gītā is theoretical without example. Therefore, the Bhagavatam and the example of the Braj gopis are needed to understand the purport of the famous sarva-dharmān-partiyajya verse. Janeshwari, Hare Krishna, nice to see you. All your friends are here in Mayapur. Everybody's missing you. And Mahendra Prabhu offers pranams. And Ujjwala Rasiga Mataji comments, this presentation made me see the Bhagavatam through the light of Bhagavad-gītā. Can you relate Chaitanya Charitamrita on similar lines? Please. Is gaura-līlā Chaitanya Charitamrita just about personalities experiencing Braj, Bhagavatam, or anything more to perceive? Yes. Bhagavatam also is theoretical. Bhagavatam is not completely theoretical. Bhagavatam, we have the example of the gopis. But there's a problem in the Bhagavatam. Napariyeham niravadya samyujam. That the gopis have defeated Krishna. And Krishna's promise, when he speaks about law, he gave the law, yeyatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham, that I have to reciprocate accordingly. But love defeated law. And Krishna didn't know how to do that. And therefore Chaitanya Charitamrita comes. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is a natural postgraduate study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad-gītā is there, and then comes Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you don't read Srimad Bhagavatam, you can't understand the Gita. But if you don't read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can't understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. The two are in cause and effect in that way. Pitambar Gopal Prabhu, Hare Krishna, nice to see you. Mahendra Prabhu comments how the Somya is also the latest thing in Bhagavad-gītā. Brajabanita says, so for us the most important task is to set our mind on this mood of the gopis. Yes, but what is the mood of the gopis? It doesn't mean that all the men are going to start wearing saris and that we're going to start dressing up like gopis and thinking gopi, gopi, gopi kind of things. But the mood of the gopis is to give everything to their beloved. The mood of the gopis for us means Guru Seva. It means to give everything to our Gurudev and become Vishrambena Guru Seva, to become one with Gurudev and trying to understand the mood of Gurudev. And then automatically these higher things will come little by little. Natalia in Estonia offers her comment. Our preaching is glorifying the gopis directly and indirectly. What a beautiful aim and mood, although I'm unsure how to fulfill it practically. Well, you have to serve in the line of the gopis, and that means serving Guru. Because this is the kirtan of our sampradāya. It's the kirtan of the gopis. It's the kirtan of Lita and Vishaka teaching Krishna how to understand the mood of Radharani. And they're engaging Rupa and Sanatan in this kirtan. And Rupa and Sanatan, they're engaging Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and others who are engaging Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan, who are engaging Gorkishore Das Babaji and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who are engaging Srila Prabhupada, who are engaging our gurus in ISKCON. And this is our line. And everyone is doing this kirtan, everyone is taking part in this kirtan in the Gambhira, sung by Srup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. And directly or indirectly, everyone is taking part in this. And therefore, we sing Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhya Ya Yali Bir Yuktir Apekshaniya. Prabhupada said that this line in Gurvashtaka means preaching. We're assisting our gurus, and so this is our line. Brinda Sundari in Denver, Colorado says, I appreciate the point you made about love also meaning understanding or empathy in relationship with Krishna. We have to understand Krishna by hearing it from those who understand him. I also am thinking about my own experience of when I feel understood by someone, and when I understand someone, I feel close to that person. So similarly, Krishna is the original person, and we can increasingly come to understanding of Krishna, his personality and qualities, from those who know him and understand him. And from his side, he already understands each of us individually more than anyone else. Yes, this Uddhava Sandesh, this is the preaching of our movement. And preaching the mood of the gopis, understanding the mood of the gopis who understand the mood of Krishna. Natalia in Estonia comments, without ruchi, a preacher only propagates his own egotistic aims. That's right. Gauranga Madhuri offers his obeisances, Hare Krishna Babu, my pranams. Brinda Sundari goes on, I also really liked hearing how the object of meditation for the gopis is not the Atma, which is the aim for the yogis, but is the life of the Atma, Krishna. And Rashmi Devi, Hare Krishna. And Betty has some comment, Hare Krishna, though I think of Krishna all the time, I still question the depth of my love for Krishna. Well, that's good, that's healthy. Even the gopis of Vrindavan, they also question their love. And we can't, how can we have love for Krishna? How can we have love for Radharani or for the gopis of Vrindavan? It's theoretical. The same problem is there, it's theoretical. So just as Krishna had to come and practically do something, we also need to practically do something. If you don't do something practical, then you're a sahajiya. You're doing something sentimental. So what is practical? Practical means Vishrambena Guru Seva. That we work to understand the mood, the heart of our Gurudev. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings that O he Vaishnava Thakur, that I'm running after you. Daita Tava Pachi Pachi. I'm running after you, Krishna Krishna Boli, and I'm chanting Krishna's name. What does it mean I'm running after you? Mother Srimati gave a beautiful description of that, explanation. I'm running because my guru is running. Why is he running? He's running because his guru is running. He's trying to keep up with him. And that's our disciplic succession. That everyone is running after their guru, in turn is running ultimately after the gopis and Krishna. The gopis are running after Krishna. Our sampradāya means you got to move. It means you have to run. And how do you run? Krishna, Krishna Boli, by chanting Krishna's name. Not just running with your legs, but by running with the heart and chanting. Prabhuji's comment, if you don't read Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita, you don't understand Srimad Bhagavatam. But Jabani says, thank you. If Bhagavatam is theory, then Chaitanya Charitamrita is practical demonstration. Practical demonstrations. Mani Gopal Prabhu at the Jagannath Mandir here in Mayapur. And Onkar Prabhu says, does Ruchi here mean the Ruchi stage in Bhakti? Yes. That we have to come to that plot from a taste. Otherwise, we can't give up our taste for material things. And if we don't have that Ruchi, we can't understand Krishna. We can't understand the mind of another person. You don't understand the mind of another person just by studying them. In American English, we call that a stalker. That's the kind of guy who's like standing outside the window trying to watch the girl undress or something, and she calls the police. That's sick. That's a weird thing. You don't understand that person just by trying to study them or follow them everywhere. You understand that person when you have some ruchi, and that ruchi comes shanmahat vipriya, from doing service. Bindu Sundari keeps commenting, running with the heart, chanting. Thank you very much for this katha. Okay, we're going to stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to some of the devotees here. Sorry? If anybody has any other comments or questions here, let's see. Wow, this is so full. I just discovered a new thing with this tablet. There's Anupayani Radha, and Krishna Kun's there also. Say hello, Krishna Kun. So let's turn this and see if we can see Sahadev. Hi, Krishna. Let's see if there's Sahadev. You had some comment or questions, Sahadev?
Yeah, you mentioned the ripe mango. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes is being the ripe mango. Can you explain the green mango?
So maybe devotees didn't hear properly. He said that we were speaking, I was quoting my Guru Maharaj, about the ripe mango. And could we speak something about the green mango? Well, the green mango is theory. The green mango means rules. It means the law. And that's important. The law is very important. And some people, I posted this thing. A very interesting social commentary. We gave this talk at the Sunday program. Some of you were there. And we read this quote from Srila Prabhupada, where Prabhupada said, the basis of civilization is love, not law. And if there's no love, then your law doesn't work. So I posted that on Facebook, and I had a very interesting experience in that. First of all, a few people became disturbed. And they started saying, no, we have to have the law. And I just commented in a very innocuous way. I said, that's what Prabhupada's saying. Prabhupada said this. I agree with Prabhupada. I don't think there's anything wrong with what Prabhupada said, and they became quiet. I also posted this comment on the Mayapur forum. And you'd be interested to know, like over 700 people liked it. It was really, really popular. And there's about 40 or 50 people who commented on it. And what were the comments? Like 30 of them were 2 words, Hare Krishna. And some people, one person said Hari Bol, another person said Jai. And I thought this is a very interesting thing. What does it mean? What I understand from this is that most people don't think. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. That's nice. That's good, but I have nothing to say about it. I have nothing to think about it. We have to think. We have to consider deeply. Those rules are important. But the rules are like a green mango. But when we have love, that's like a ripe mango. Is that okay, Sadhya Prabhu?
Yeah.
To put it in a brief way. It's a big topic. It could be spoken on a lot. Anybody, Prabhu, do you have something? Let me just adjust the microphone. And this is really cool that I can do this. Okay, go ahead. See everybody. Wow. Wave, Mataji.
Just like you said that Krishna book is legal. Krishna book is legal, you said. Similarly, the nectar of devotion, we generally read the first part only. The rest parts are also legal. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ante-līlā is also legal. Yeah. So this
Yes.
was one of the
That's your observation.
like comment. And similarly, like we have ISKCON now. Sometimes we can come up with the ISKCON now, something like that. we have ISKCON, now we have made.
Yes.
Something like that.
Very
Then the
nice.
cooperation will be more natural. Then this word like your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate. Then this can come more naturally if we have our organization around loving principles more than only ISKCON law and something like that.
Very nice, thank you. Very nice comment. We should understand the purpose of this movement. Srila Prabhupada didn't come to the West just to establish the International Society for Rules and Regulations. And it wasn't his success. In fact, he was so controversial, his students in the early days would come, and after they'd finished, after the class was over and the kirtan was over, and they would go outside and they'd have a cigarette. And they'd go to the ice cream shop and have some ice cream with eggs in it. And Prabhupada knew that. Prabhupada wasn't coming to speak about the rules and regulations. Bhakti is all positive. It's the all positive solution. And we should always see that. It's about love. Law is not positive. Law is there for people who are rascals. What is the necessity of making a law? Don't rape a woman. It's against the law to rape a woman. No human being is going to rape a woman. No good person is going to do that. But that law is for people who are like animals. And therefore it needs to be there. But we want to come to the platform of love. And Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, he didn't speak about law, he spoke about love. And the devotees loved him. He changed their hearts. He touched their hearts. And then later on, law started coming in into our society. And things became a little more, as Prabhupada said, a little more dry. I forget how he puts it in that BTG excerpt we mentioned. But it becomes a little more dry, a little more theoretical. Okay? Anybody else with any reflections they want to share? Thank you, Prabhuji. It's really nice. Okay. Nari. And there is Nari. Wow. With a smile. Thank you, Nari. What's the second? Let me just adjust this mic.
My mom regards to Mataji Janeshwari if she's still there.
Your pronouns are Janeshwari. Good.
I like the point that this sixth verse of what we sing in mornings, Nikunjaya Narati Kleside, is about preaching. And I just checked because I didn't remember exactly that Ruchi is the sixth stage of Nava Vidya Bhakti, how you call it. It's like same, 6 verse, and Ruchi is also 6. And you told that without Ruchi we cannot be real preacher. And this is interesting. And maybe could you...
Maybe it's like 666.
What else is 6 interesting? So could you speak a little bit more about what meaning that Nikunjaya Narati Kleside is about preaching?
It's 906, Prabhu.
Is that?
It's 906.
It's also 906. Okay. So it's a very, very big topic. What does it really mean? Brajeti Prachar. Brajeti Prachar means, the real Prachar means to speak about Braj and the love of Braj. Because this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu's movement. And this is what Mahaprabhu is coming, this is his inspiration, because he's trying to repay his debt to Srimati Radharani. And it's a big debt, because Radharani's love is unlimited. So Krishna has to engage the whole universe in trying to repay that debt. And that's the kirtan of our sampradāya. Okay? I want to go ahead and stop there because it's a little overtime. We have some things going on. So I want to thank everybody very much. And today is what? I forget what day it is. Wednesday. So we'll be back again in 2 days on Friday. Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta